Hey babies, hey babies, hey babies. Hi everyone. Happy schedule release day, everybody. Hi everyone. We're here. People can stop guessing soon and stop leaking stuff, guys. Just stop leaking things when you hear things.
I mean, this is honestly, I went on a literal 20-minute rant on this on my show last Friday about how the NFL gets it, man. Leaking these games over 3 days and not even leaking that many games and having us talk about it every single day. Genius. Genius, because we
It
care
is
so much.
genius.
We care so much about our schedules and who's going to play and when they're going to play them. And none of it matters. But we're all going to talk about it for 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, anyways.
I could be a potential leaker today, but I don't know what the schedule looks like. Okay.
Right.
So if I knew for sure that some of the things I heard last night at a team event that I was at, if I knew for sure they were true, it would be very difficult for me to not say a couple of them because a couple of them that I heard were doozies. Okay. Total doozies. But I don't know for sure that they happened. And also the team would hate me if I actually even released any of them. So I'll just tell you that the only thing that I will sit there and say that I think I know is there's a leak out of New York that the Giants people believe they're playing here in week 1. Yeah. And I'll just say, I heard that too. Okay. So I don't know what the schedule is. I haven't seen it. There was just a lot of discussion about it last night. And there were, as you might imagine, there is going to be a lot of night games this year. And because they can play a lot of premier opponents this year too. And so it's going to be a really crazy schedule, I think, this year. But I heard a couple that are going to be like, whoa, that's amazing if they happen. But I also did hear Giants week 1. So I will confirm the rumor from New York that I heard that is what the opener is. So, hope I'm not revealing too much, but I heard the same thing. And when I saw the New York people leak that, I went, well, that's what I heard too. But again, I just want to reiterate, I haven't seen it. So I don't know. I just heard things about it and we'll find out tonight. The whole thing will come out tonight.
Let me react to that one because I did think the week 1 game was going to be, and I don't mean this disparagingly, but I mean it in a way of, it was going to be one of the non-primetime, quote-unquote, harmless opponents that they could throw at 1 o'clock on a Sunday.
If Giants, we were going to Brazil to face the Chargers, then it was going to be one of those. I agree.
And so I kind of sorted them in my own buckets that one of the Giants games was going to be that. I think the second one could be a 4:25 or a night game or something like that if they want the markets involved. But one of those games was going to be a 1 o'clock game. I had settled in on the Vikings probably being a 1 o'clock game just because of how premier everything else is, by the way. It's not disparaging. It's just their opponents this year are must-watch TV. And the other opponent, I'm trying to remember who I had settled in on that was a possible one. The Broncos. That was one that I just thought, yeah, there's some storylines with the young quarterbacks, but I don't think it's going to be as important as everyone realizes. So I'd kind of settled in on 3 or 4 games of being that quote-unquote harmless game. Yeah. That was one of the opponents I settled in on week 1.
So what we do know again now, at least this one has come out, they're out of going to Dallas on Thanksgiving because that's going to be the Chiefs. That was already announced. That doesn't mean they're out of Thanksgiving entirely. Detroit is on their schedule, and we haven't heard who Detroit is playing on Thanksgiving
Detroit's home, though, so no, they're not going.
Well, that's right. Detroit's here. Okay, so we're out of Thanksgiving. Yeah. This is not a surprise to me because once they announced the Madrid game, and that was November 16th, typically, doesn't mean they're going to do this, but typically the bye week comes after an international game like that. They're not going to make them play on Thanksgiving. And I'll tell you why. If that worked out that way, Dallas would have a problem with it because Washington would have 10 days off and Dallas would have played the Sunday before, probably the Sunday before. And that's not fair even to them, even though they're hosting it. So once we got the Madrid game, I went, oh, we're out of Thanksgiving this year because for a while there, it was every other year that Washington was going down to face Dallas. And so this was the off year. Obviously, we didn't play on Thanksgiving. It does, though, reiterate what I think we all know is going to happen. I think Washington's going to be on Christmas Day. Now, against who and where is an open question. It feels like it would be the Bears if it's that Saturday matchup thing, because last year, what the NFL did was they had 4 teams play on Saturday. so that they could get them to play on Wednesday. Remember, Christmas Day was Wednesday last year, and they just alternated the opponents. They've already announced that the Black Friday game is Eagles-Bears, and the Bears are playing the Packers on that Saturday. So it can't be Eagles-Bears. It would have to be Eagles-Packers, which means it would be Washington-Bears. But the NFL has until Thursday to play this game this year. So I don't think it's a certainty, actually, that they alternate the opponents for Christmas Day, even though I think everyone's believing that to be the case. So I think Washington's going to play on Christmas Day, but I don't know against who. And if it's the way they did it last year, it will be Chicago here. But if it's not the way they did it last year, then I think you might be in for a surprise for that one.
For that one, too, the Bears make sense, honestly. Like, that would be a great game. But what I kind of settled into yesterday, kind of breaking it down on my show, was would the league want to put the Bears on both Black Friday and Christmas Day? They're not the Chiefs. You know what I mean? Like, put them on one, sure. But putting them on both seems a little bit bold on a team that largely has been very rocky. We don't know if they're going to be in contention by that point. You and I like the Bears offseason. I think they're going to be good this year. They should be good up until that point.
They should be.
But, like, look at what the Chiefs have done at this point. They're going to be playing on both Thanksgiving and on Christmas again, right? So here it is. I'm kind of like, man, I don't think the league's going to put the Bears on both those games. So I'm with you. I'm getting a little bit skeptical of, like,
yeah,
the Bears have not proven they're supposed to be there yet or market them like that. And if we've learned anything about the NFL, they've gotten very good at marketing very well on these big games. And
yes.
I don't know if I buy it with the Bears yet.
Right. Like last year, everyone just assumed when they saw that Saturday thing that came out, Washington plays Philadelphia, Chicago plays Green Bay, and they're common opponents this year. Well, they'll just turn them around and play each other on Thanksgiving. Then they put out that Black Friday game, which eliminated the Bears being the Eagles' opponent. So all of a sudden, it was like, okay, well, Washington's going to play the Bears on Christmas. The difference is when they played last year on Saturday, they were turning around to a Wednesday. That's not the case this year. They're turning around to a Thursday. Teams playing on Sunday to then play on Thursday, commonplace in the NFL now. So that's why I believe Washington's going to get a Christmas Day game, but I actually don't know who the opponent is. It's logical it would be Chicago. I do hope Philly plays Green Bay on it because it would be the all-time Grinch game on Christmas. They're the ones that took away the tush push. So like that would be incredible. And plus it's like those two and they played in the playoffs. And, I think that would be a great matchup. Like the NFL has really caught it right this year with the matchups. NFC East versus AFC West and NFC North. There's so many prime matchups between those 2-3 divisions, really, that I think it's going to be incredible this year. So we'll see what happens, but I'm relieved about Thanksgiving. Like I love doing it and we've done it, but like every other year seems a little ridiculous actually. So I don't mind it taking a couple years to come back around. And in all likelihood, because they won't have done it for 2 years, they'll be the opponent in Dallas next year. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
And I think that the reality of the situation is, as you just said, and I think I said this yesterday at some point, was like the just sheer amount of those games, of the matchups you're going to get for the first time in 3 years of like the Chiefs Cowboys. Yeah, you do put that on Thanksgiving. Like that does supersede any kind of the traditions that you have, right? Like Commanders playing all three of those teams. The Commanders playing, at Lambeau, right? Like there are these premier games that I think the league is also looking at by going, it doesn't matter if we buck the trend for this 1 year because we do have all of these premier opponents for once. Like the sheer volume of really good games between all three of those divisions is pretty much why I think the schedule's a little bit more chaotic than it has been in the past.
I also I think we could take a pretty good educated guess that the finale is going to be the Giants too. That would be that's a guess. I mean, we already know that Philadelphia, they're playing here December 20th. If that's honestly the first matchup between the two, the NFL's made a mistake. So I'm expecting that Washington plays Philadelphia up in Philadelphia much earlier in the season at some point. So I'm kind of eliminating them as the likely finale. And obviously the finale has always been a division team. And then with Dallas, I guess I'm waiting to see. If we're not playing their Thanksgiving, then I guess we're waiting to see. And they've been a typical opponent at the end of the year the last few years. But I'm feeling like it's the Giants is going to bookend the season, that we're going to open with them and close with them, but we'll see.
I was going to say, it's going to be an NFC East game, right? As soon as it came out that we were hosting the Eagles on December 20th, I knew, okay, the last 2 games should be NFC East, I would assume, but we don't know about that Christmas game. But yeah, either, I guess with the leak today, either at Giants or one of the Cowboys game. That's what I'm banking on week 18. What I'll say is this, the schedule has gotten a little like too predictive, right? Like we played week 18 against the Giants, but it's been 4 years since then, 3 years since then. That was like your favorite game where the Giants took a knee on 3rd down, right? That was that last week of the season, I think. So yeah, like that was like the most pitiful game of all time. Fromm, I believe, was playing that game.
Yes.
So it's been a minute since they actually did play anyone else but Dallas on week 18. I don't think the NFL likes to fall into this tradition this fast, but if it's not Dallas, I'm with you. I think it is the Giants.
That was the one where I pulled Ron aside before the game, and I said, I just want to tell you this. I go, this team hasn't had a shutout since 1991, and the Giants had totally fallen apart, and Fromm was playing quarterback, and they couldn't score any points, and they'd shut him out through 3 quarters. Like, they almost got him, and I was like, I just want to let you know that you can do something that hasn't happened around here in a very, very, very long time because they were so messed up, and I thought it was going to happen, and that was that game where they did something I've never seen before. They decided to kneel down inside their own 5 in the first half because they were scared to run a play. An NFL team was scared to run a play. I remember I was like, am I seeing what I think I'm seeing right now? That they're actually scared to run a play because they think they're going to turn it over?
Who got fired after that one? Who got fired?
That's your guy, Joe Judge.
That's right. Yeah,
Joe Judge, who in year 1, they said remember we used to say he got into a bare knuckle boxing match with his coaching staff.
Right, yeah, whoever the offensive line coach was. Yeah, I was trying to remember who the coach was. I couldn't remember who it was. It was pre-Dayball. It was right before Dayball.
Pre-Dayball. So, yeah. That was his last game. He was only there for a year or 2. I really believe that actually his firing, along with McAdoo, along with who else they had, the former offensive coordinator was at Colorado. I can't remember, where they went through so many coaches. I believe Dayball is there now because they don't want to fire somebody quickly because they hate the perception that they fire people too quickly. That's actually why they haven't done anything with the GM, Shane, or Dayball, even though everyone's going, guys, what are you guys doing on the field right now? And they're going, well, we can't fire anybody because everyone says we're crazy. Right.
That's right. Right. Exactly. So that was the last time.
Yeah. And also the Eagles are playing Dallas in the opener. So it actually would make sense that these are the bookends. Washington Giants, Dallas, Philadelphia, week 18, they bookend the season against one another. But that one, again, I don't know, but it just feels logically, considering when we know we're playing Philadelphia so late in the season, that it's probably not them. That's not going to be the first meeting. Like, there's no way that they're going to have the 2 meetings be week 16 and week 18. Like, that's crazy. So I think logically, I think we're going to be in New York to end the season, which, if that does happen, and if New York is what we think they're going to be, which is not a team competing for the playoffs because of the division and everything else, we may need that game. So, let's see where we are at the end of the year. All right. We talked about this a lot yesterday, but it really ramped up in Cincinnati a lot. Trey Hendrickson showed up to the OTAs, not to practice, which was interesting. It was voluntary. He didn't have to come to that, but he did anyway. Off of the statement he made to ESPN, and apparently talked to reporters for over 20 minutes, made a couple things very clear. One, he's pissed at his coach, okay? Because the coach apparently texted him and said, if you don't show up to things, we're going to start fining you. After he's like, yeah, buddy, you're the ones telling me that I'm making $20 million less than the other people of my caliber, that you were going to give me a different contract if I played the same way that I had, and you guys aren't doing that, and you're ghosting me, now you won't even talk to me about it. His line was, well, if I had 4 sacks, they'd be telling me to take a pay cut. I had 17, and now they don't want to talk to me about what they promised me. And then he made it very clear, with no uncertain terms, if they do not change my contract, I will not play. And in his case, I saw the number, he's making in the teens, right?
It's $14 million.
It's absurd. Okay. Yep. I don't believe he should get Max Crosby and Myles Garrett money, but he also should not be getting Javon Kinlaw. Come on now. He's got to get up. Milton Williams is making $11 million more a year. Odigizua is making $7 million more a year. Come on. So Cincinnati, you're going to blow this. Maybe they're just at an impasse because he wants $35 million a year and they're saying 27 or something like that. I can't believe that they would be non-flexible whatsoever about it, but it could be that he wants something that they literally are not going to get. So this is ramped up. And I expect resolution relatively soon. I think after what he did, they're either going to make him happy or it's going to be a big stink that goes on all summer and they have to trade him. And then for me, like for Washington, because we haven't done edge rusher yet, and everyone knows we need to do something about edge rusher. Here's where I am on it. I'm not giving Cincinnati a first round pick, number one. That's not happening. We don't have a second round pick. We already traded that. That was part of the Tunsil trade. So we'll have to see if a mid round pick would do it. And then secondarily, honestly, I only want to bring him in here if he were truly available at a short term rate. I don't care about the guaranteed money for a year or two. But that's it. Like, I do not want to give him some 5-6 year deal with some massive number attached to it. I will give him a 2-year deal where the majority of the money's guaranteed because, well, it'll be over in a couple of years and let's see how he does. So that's where I am on that. And I have a feeling that ain't going to cut it, but that's where I am on that.
I was going to say like a 3-year deal with an out after 2.
Yes.
Sounds about right. Because you could tell him too, hey, if we don't have a solution and you're still playing well, we're going to keep you around. Like, I think this is one of those scenarios where it's actually not a like guarantee that they would get rid of him after the 2 years or even tear it up and sign him to an extension if he really played well, right? Like, I think the way I've landed on this is the Bengals have played this so poorly. And what I actually hate the most about this is Hendrickson has gone about this the completely right way if you're a player trying to get the new contract. He came out right after the season. It ramped up during Radio Row, the week of the Super Bowl. Remember, the whole storyline was how are they going to sign Higgins, Chase, and him? And we all knew they weren't going to sign all three. And he just literally said, I want to be paid market value. And if that's not the case, trade me. No hard feelings. Like, there was no emotion involved here. And now it's basically come out that they told him to kick rocks last offseason. And now when he's asking to do this the proper way, they're not listening to him. I think this is a shame because the Bengals should have done right by him too. Like, he's 30 years old, not 38 years old. This is proper. And here's really the main meat of it, honestly. The Bengals are pissed they waited to do this, and then the market blew up on them literally in the last 2 months. It went from signing him to a $28 million deal to a $35 million deal to then Garrett getting $40 million a year. It went up literally over the course of 3 days, and they're pissed that they didn't sign him earlier. And so that's where this all lands. And I hate that he did this the right way, and the Bengals are just not even talking to him. That's just, I don't know. You don't do business that way. I'm sorry. You don't do business that way.
Yeah. I mean, he was like, it's not my fault what the market is for defensive ends.
Right. And he's right.
Like, that's how I've always felt about it too. You just pay really good players market value because it is what it is. Like, the agents aren't stupid. They're not stupid. They see what everyone else makes. And this is why you need to get ahead of every contract. If you don't get ahead of them, they just go up. This happened to Dallas with Dak. It happened to Dallas with CD. Like, you've got to do these things early. If you don't, you are going to walk into a situation, unless you have a person that's flexible with you and is willing to take less than what market value is. Like, we're going to see what Terry ends up getting in an extension. We're going to find that out in real time. I don't think there's anything acrimonious going on, but this is kind of a similar kind of thing. No one thinks Terry McLaurin's the best receiver in the NFL, but he's a really, really, really good one. The market value is what the market value is. He's not going to get what Jamar Chase got, but he's not going to get a ton less than that, So someone's got it. Like, what's the happy medium, and can they do it without any acrimony? And it feels like that's what's happening. In the Bengals case, they're like, they don't even seem like they're having even a conversation about the range of where he should be. And that's why he's pissed. And I don't blame him. And I'm sorry, but like, you're not returning his calls.
Right.
Come on.
Well,
do you care about this guy? Do you want him on your team? If you're going to ghost him like this, trade him. Like,
well,
value him.
The other side of this too is we don't really know the trade value either. Like, remember, like, the trade value that was kicked out there, wasn't it like a second round pick or something like that? Like a second and a fourth or something. And everybody was kind of like, that doesn't sound too insane. Well, are you telling me no team stepped up to get close to that? Like a third and a fourth, or a fourth and a conditional third? Like, if he plays or whatever? Like, that's what I don't understand here either. Teams probably stepped up to make a trade. The Bengals aren't doing that either. I don't really understand. And they drafted his replacement too. So a trade actually does make sense here. And that's the other side of this that I actually think is really dumb. I think there are teams that are going to line up to trade for him. Maybe it's not a first round pick, but the compensation is the compensation. The market is the market, and they're not even talking, it seems.
I don't think they're going to get a first-round pick. I think if actually that was offered, I think they would have taken it. Now, the other thing, like I saw London last night because I did a thing, and I'm like, and I brought up Hendrickson, and I'm like, I don't think we're going to get him because I just think there's a lot going on here that's going to make it hard because I don't know what his demands are. I don't know what the Bengals' demands are. Like, there's just a lot there. But we haven't done anything at edge yet. There's just no chance in my mind that this roster goes into training camp the way it is. So I think they're going to do something. And there are big names, Hendrickson aside, that are free agents that you could go sign. Zadarius Smith comes to mind. Von Miller comes to mind. Jadeveon Clowney popped up all of a sudden. Like, there are going to be big name options and some other options that are available. And I was talking to London about it, and he said, I hope he doesn't mind I brought this up, but he said this, and I go, it makes a lot of sense to me. He goes, if I was a premier edge rusher, and I know the money's the money. Whether you offer it me now or you offer it me in August, I'm taking it in August because I don't want to go through the whole offseason with you if it's going to be a one-year deal and the money's going to be all the same anyway. So his point was maybe one of the reasons why Washington hasn't signed a couple of these premier edge rushers is they don't want to show up to practice right now. They don't want to deal with the offseason program, and they want to show up when they show up. And, I believe him. Like, that actually makes a little sense to me. Like, why would Von Miller show up right now? If I'm him and you're like, well, this is what you're offering me, that's not going to change in July and August. Like, I already know that. And there's plenty of teams that would want me for the same price. Why am I going to show up? And, I've done this a million times. So I actually think there's some validity to that.
No, I mean, I've joked around it. That's what I think Aaron Rodgers is doing here. Like, Aaron Rodgers is going, I'm 38, coming off an Achilles a couple years ago. There's no reason for me to join an offseason program right now and have.
I know, but he's the quarterback and has to learn the offense. An edge rusher, just like, go get the quarterback. I mean, like, what are we asking him to do?
No, and I'm going to say it's way easier for the edge rusher to just show up and do what he does, is what I'm getting at here. Like, Rodgers, I think, is going to sign, obviously, months before training camp. But when it comes to an edge rusher, it's totally different. They can just show up and they'll be fine. I'm with you. I think that's actually a pretty good point there, that there's no reason for them to be at all of these offseason practices and stuff too.
So we have a short show today because the Orioles, because of a rain out, have a reschedule here early in the day. If you're listening on the radio on ESPN 630, so you'll hear the Orioles coverage coming up at 11:30. So the podcast is shorter today. But before we go, I just want to spend 2 minutes on this because we are on sports radio still. This isn't a podcast only. And this was an all-time sports radio topic that went on forever that is finally going to come to an end. And I got to tell you, thank God it's coming to an end, albeit what a cop-out to wait to Pete Rose to die to actually take him off an ineligible list and allow him to go into the Hall of Fame, which I don't think is a total certainty because the nudniks that vote on all of this may still hold all whatever his background is against him, albeit I would think that, better judgment will come over them, but posthumously he would go into the Hall of Fame, and for years and years and years, this was like an all-time sports radio, ESPN Sports Center topic that just went on and on and on with no resolution to it. Should arguably the greatest, not power hitter, but singles hitter, one of the best inarguably players of all time, be held out of the Hall of Fame because he was a gambler and they found out that he gambled on his team while he was a manager of the Reds. And there's some other personality things that were going on there that I think later in life that we found out about with him that are unsavory at best, at best. That said, I still do believe that his playing career, and I've always stood by this, his playing career speaks for itself. You could never prove to me that he tried to lose on purpose, gambling or not. And I don't even think it's an argument that he should be in the Hall of Fame, even if you don't like a lot of his character traits that he had. So I'm so glad that we can have finality to this because I spent way too much time of my life, segment after segment after segment, having the dumbest argument about one of the greatest hitters of all time. And I've seen a few people on Twitter, younger people, I would assume, who are like, his career was overrated. No, it was not. Okay.
Yeah.
He is inarguably one of the greatest hitters of all time, and he was known for being one of the most competitive, hustling players you've ever seen of all time. His career is not underrated whatsoever, and I believe, Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, maybe Mark McGwire in the Hall of Fame, all of them period. And I hope that this is over for him.
Yeah, I would say for me, I obviously didn't see Pete Rose play. He was done by the time I was born. But what I thought yesterday was this opens the door up for the steroid era. And I've said this for a long time. The Pro Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown needs to have an acknowledgement of the steroid era. It was the hottest thing in America when the home runs were going back and forth with Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa and years with that. There needs to be an acknowledgement of it. And I think with this, it opens the door for that to happen. I'm with you, though. Do the writers actually vote any of these guys in? I actually doubt it, to be quite honest. I doubt they actually do it. With Pete Rose, though, it's like any other waiting period. I think he has to wait for 4 years until he's even up. So that's the other thing. We'll see how the momentum goes for 4 more years, and then we'll see if he actually gets in.
Yep. All right. If you're listening on the radio, O's are next today. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Brad Washington Show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital.